Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be sharing 3 things that I learned and I think you should know before you take a trip around the Great Ocean Road in an EV. I feel like these things are pretty important to take note of before embarking on this journey so that you can both know what to expect and also to taper those expectations. But first and foremost, a big thank you to Porsche APAC and Porsche Cars Australia for making this video possible. We had the opportunity to take the brand new Porsche Taycan Turbo around Yarra Valley all the way up to the Black Spur Drive where we had an awesome time around the B roads there. Click here if you want to find out what went down. So once again, a big thank you to them. But now, on to today's episode. I'm going to preface this episode by saying that my experience with EVs, though somewhat limited, gave me a pretty representative experience of what it'd be like as someone coming from traditional ICE cars. To make up for it though, I spent quite a bit of time measuring and researching before I even reached the country. And that brings me to my first point. I cannot stress this enough. Research is vital, both with regards to the car itself and the route you're planning to take. This meant learning the maximum effective range of the Taycan Turbo, what kind of charge speeds it could accept, and what kind of chargers were available. Where were they available, and how far between them? Were they even working or not? The Taycan Turbo has a maximum advertised estimated WLTP range of 587 kilometers, dependent on your driving, and accepts up to 320 kilowatt charging at 800 volts, which is crazy fast. Unfortunately, this was let down by the current charging situation along the Great Ocean Road. As far as my research could tell, EV chargers are present at these locations along what is considered to be the usual Great Ocean Road route, taking you past sites like the 12 Apostles and the small town of Apollo Bay. My route in particular needed me to circle back after the 12 Apostles and head back to Melbourne City where we were staying and where we'll also start our journey. Also, be sure to download all the apps for the respective chargers so that you're not left without signal trying to install the charging app out there. Now this leads me to my second point. Once you've done the research on what I mentioned above, come up with backup plans and contingencies. Given the total distance that we'll be covering was in the neighborhood of 600 kilometers, we were definitely going to need to stop at some point in our journey to charge the car. It would be foolish to assume that every charger you see on the map would have a slot available when you arrive. And this was definitely the case for us, as one of the most important charging locations for us, the midway point at Apollo Bay, had only one CCS2 charger and was occupied for the entire duration we had lunch there. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh no, the other person's just gotten to it. Oh shit. So I was at lunch and I saw that the charging slot opened up and I ran over as fast as I could. In the 2 to 3 minutes that it took me to get here, we have someone else in the lot now, so I can't charge this car yet because I need the CCS2 plug connector thing. The other one that's available here is the CHAdeMO standard, so I can't use that. Side note, I also learned the hard way and embarrassingly that there are different charging heads, and I tried to stick a CHAdeMO charger into the Taycan. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, this fortunately wasn't a problem for us, as I had insisted to stop by a charger that was slightly out of the way before we started on the actual Great Ocean Road, located in Torquay, and we are doing our first charge stop because we really need to. I don't think the car is enough to go all the way if we don't charge here, so wow, clearly this has been out here in the wild for quite some time. Even this wasn't without its own complications. With only slow DC charging available, I had to spend a really long time there waiting just to get the charge I needed. But this took a lot of the guessing on what decision we should make next out of the equation, as we knew in what situations we would require a stop, and by filling up at the start, we were able to give the Apollo Bay charger a miss. So guys, just for some context, we are at 75%, just trying to top up as much as we can, and we'll be on our way in like 20-30 minutes, I think. Missing out on charging in Apollo Bay, however, meant that I would have just enough to make it back into Melbourne City after our final stop. leaving me with almost no buffer to get around the city and find a charger. Now, EV chargers in Melbourne City, although present, are not abundant like Singapore, and I found information on the chargers a little hard to find. The nearest charger to our accommodation was also quite a distance away. This ideally meant topping up before heading back, leading me to my third point, or in this case, a lesson. You can use Tesla superchargers in Australia even if you don't drive one. In Singapore, up till recently, non-Tesla cars were unable to make use of the super high-speed charging available at these stations. In Australia, however, if your car is equipped with the CCS standard of charging, you're able to do so. Now, this meant that we were able to stop at this charger near the city of Colac for a quick juice up before heading back into town. Now, this was a lifesaver as it removed a lot of the stress that would have come if I needed to find a charger back in the CBD. Okay. So we are at 155 kilometers of range, 32% left. Yeah, we weren't gonna make it back if we didn't stop. So thankfully, 126 kilowatt charging, which is pretty quick. We should be up to 80% in like maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The alternative backup that I had planned will bring us up to the city of Warrnambool after completing the 12 Apostles, extending our journey by at least another hour in just commute time, not including the time we need to charge the car, if a charger was even available. Not to forget, travelling that extra distance would use more range and require even more time to top up the car as it wasn't along our return route. This also meant reaching the CBD at an estimated 10 to 11 PM, which was really late considering we set off at 8 in the morning. So it's about 80% now. Definitely enough for us to get back, so I just cancelled the charging. Okay, time to head home. Well, for dinner actually. So this brings me to my overall reflections on doing the Great Ocean Road in an EV. Although all my planning and research meant that we were prepared for most scenarios and got back in one piece, even factoring in generous time buffers at every stop, we ended up way off schedule with our timing beginning to snowball right after the very first stop at Torquay. Now, the lack of charging stations and reliable fast charging along the Great Ocean Road meant that we had to spend a longer than anticipated time at our first stop, and I wasn't even able to get the full charge that I was hoping to get. Having waited for an extra 30 minutes at Apollo Bay as well, that pushed our timeline back even further. We ended up reaching our final stop at the grotto only I think around like 5 or 5:30 PM. Thankfully, our trip was in November and the sun only set around 8 PM, which meant that there was still enough daylight to get to our charger. Overall, it took a lot of the fun out of the whole process, as every minute spent at the chargers meant a minute lost enjoying the sights. The Taycan Turbo already has a really impressive range given the amount of power it has and the fact that it's a dual motor EV. So cars with any less range than that would seriously need to taper their expectations with regards to time. It would be as simple as just missing the first charge stop due to a dead or unavailable charger, and that would have made the stop at Apollo Bay a mandatory one, and your options reduce as you go on. So is doing the Great Ocean Road in an EV possible? Yes. Would I recommend it though? It's a bit of a tough one. On one hand, the roads I enjoyed were some of the best roads I've ever driven on, with amazing views and great opportunities to experience the car. On the other, the stress and lack of infrastructure to me just leads me to believe that the Great Ocean Road isn't ready for an EV yet, especially if you're coming from Melbourne City and are planning to head back there afterwards. It takes too much fun out of what would have been a great experience in, say, a petrol-powered sports car or even a regular sedan. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Thanks again for joining us on this channel, and I hope you found this video informative. Again, these are just my honest opinions coming from a background of ICE cars. So feel free to share yours in the comments, or if you have any questions about the way I did it, feel free to drop them below too, and I'll be more than happy to get to them. I'll catch you guys in the next one.